ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਪੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਕਹਾਂ ਬੁੱਧ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਤੁਛ ਹਮਾਰੀ ਬਰਨ ਸਕੈ ਮਹਿਮਾ ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਰੀ हम न सख्त कर सिफत तुम्हारी आप लिहो तुम कथा सुधारी हम न सख्त कर सिफत तुम्हारी आप लिहो तुम कथा सुधारी।
दोहरा तब माली ने फिर कहियो यह भी भेद बताए पातशाहन अवगुरन को परियो बैर जित पाए। तब माली ने फिर कहियो
वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। Guru प्यारी साध संगत जी, we are blessed to have the opportunity to listen to the history of our Gurus. So far in Panth Parkash, Bhai Rattan Singh ji has told us of the time where he told Captain Murray of the coming to Guru Nanak Dev Ji into this earth. The coming of Guru Nanak Dev Ji is the Sache Padishah who through the 10 Gurus bestowed Padshahi upon their followers. Captain Murray now asks Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Bhai Rattan Singh Ji, to tell him of how from the time of Guru Nanak Dev Ji it so became that the Mughals who had obtained Raj from the blessings of Guru Nanak Dev Ji came to bear such enmity towards the Sikhs, and how the dushmani, how that enmity between the Mughals and the Sikhs grew and spread.
तब माली ने फिर कहियो।
So Bhai Rattan Singh Ji says that Captain Murray now asks him, Bhai Rattan Singh, tell me the following.
यह भी भेद बताए।
Give me this bait, give me these secrets, give me the knowledge, because Captain Murray was an intelligence officer of the British East India Company, compiling the history of the time so that it could be sent back to London and filed away.
पातशाहन अवगुरन को
Between the Padishah, between the Emperor of the Delhi and the Guru, how was it that these two forces came to clash with one another? And Captain Murray was told the following then by Bhai Rattan Singh Ji. The Gurus did what their job was to do, and as the Emperor committed sin, as the Emperor committed injustice, as the Emperor committed tyranny, that it was the actions of the two forces which drew them towards one another in conflict. That the Mughal emperors from the time of Guru Nanak Dev Ji would sometimes be happy with the Sikh Gurus, and other times they would be angry. So we see this many times where the Mughal emperors would come to Gurus, either Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Babar's son to Guru Angad Dev Ji, how from the times of Guru Ramdas Ji and Guru Arjan Dev Ji and even Guru Amar Das Ji, the third Guru, who the Mughal Emperor came to see at the time Guru Sahib was constructing Bauli Sahib. And then at the time of the 6th Guru, after giving Shaheedi to Guru Arjan Dev Ji, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji then fought 4 battles with the Mughals. And at the time then of the 7th Guru, Guru Har Rai Sahib Ji, the Mughal emperors would come to obtain medicines from Guru Har Rai Sahib Ji's garden. So Bhai Rattan Singh Ji tells Captain Murray that the relationship between the Gurus and the Mughals fluctuated in this way. And because one emperor would come who would cool it, another emperor come who would warm it, it never reached a complete boiling point one way or the other. And because the emperors would sometimes serve the Gurus, because the emperors would sometimes take to the feet of the Gurus and recognize their divinity as such, they behaved and performed their duties in such a way that never allowed things to escalate until the way they eventually did at the time of Aurangzeb. Because Aurangzeb was the emperor who came to power by killing his father and imprisoning his brothers, and one who has such enmity towards his own, what actions can we expect of them when they become a ruler? He was entirely unfit to be a just ruler, and in his heart he had a great master plan to commit much enmity upon the people.
Tegh Bahadur.
And so this Aurangzeb then, who had wanted to convert all of Hindustan to Islam, and on the other side Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, the history of the time is set between these two great forces as the 9th Guru and the Emperor Aurangzeb.
ਭੈ ਜਗਤ ਮੈਂ ਉਦੋ ਉਜਾਗਰ
In the world now, these two famous beings, one an emperor, one a guru, their time has come to show their greatness and put their mark on history in the time of the age.
ਦੋਹਰਾ ਹੋਤੋ ਨੌਰੰਗੇ ਪ੍ਰਣ ਕੀਓ ਤਖਤ ਬਹਿਨ ਸੋ ਕਾਲ
And when Aurangzeb was sat upon the throne, he was made a proclamation at the time that he would convert all the Hindus to Muslims, and this was to appease the radical imams of the time who would support Aurangzeb and give him their political power and give him their blessing if he promised to use his rule as a means to spread Islam through the world.
ਤੁਰਕ ਕਰੋ ਸਭ ਹਿੰਦੂਨ ਸੂਬੇ ਬਾਈਨ ਭਾਲ
That within all 22 regions of Hindustan, whichever Hindu is left living there, he must be converted to the faith of the Turks.
ਚੌਪਈ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਵੱਡ ਪਦ ਧਾਰੀ
Guru Tegh Bahadur ji was a great warrior, though. At a time when such an injustice is happening, the warriorhood, the saintly spirit in Guru Tegh Bahadur ji was awakened, and Bhai Rattan Singh ji tells us of the tale how this came to be.
ਪ੍ਰਗਟ ਭਈ ਗੱਲ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਸਾਰੀ
That the time had come for Guru Tegh Bahadur ji to show their greatness in the world, to commit a great act of the age, and so this time too was coming, as on the other hand Aurangzeb's time for committing sin was arising too.
ਜਾਂ ਪੈ ਆਏ ਪਰੈ ਕੋ ਦੁਖ
That whenever one who came to suffer in any type of pain in the world
ਪਰੈ ਚਰਨ ਮੈਂ ਹੋਵੇ ਸੁਖ
could go to the feet of Guru Tegh Bahadur ji and obtain much peace and blessings, and so in the world Guru Tegh Bahadur ji was becoming famous as the granter of peace.
ਦੁਨੀਆ ਮਤਲਬ ਸੁਖ ਕੀ ਸਾਰੀ
And Bhai Rattan Singh ji says, Duniya matlab diya, the world is concerned with its own interest, and its own interests are geared towards obtaining peace for themselves.
ਆਵੇ ਸ਼ਰਨੀ ਜਿਹ ਪੈ ਭਾਰੀ
And when the Guru grants that peace, when those come to their sharan, it was expected then much of the world would follow Guru Tegh Bahadur ji and take to their blessings as they did.
ਲਗਤ ਚਰਨ ਹੋਏ ਤੁਰਤ ਸੁਖਾਰੈ
And when they would come to the sharan of Guru Tegh Bahadur ji, when they would obtain blessings from Guru Tegh Bahadur ji, they would become peaceful.
ਪ੍ਰਗਟ ਭਈ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਜਗ ਸਾਰੈ
And Bhai Rattan Singh ji says this greatness of Guru Tegh Bahadur ji spread all across the lands.
ਦੋਹਰਾ ਚਲੀ ਕਹਾਵਤ ਸਭ ਜਗੈ ਇਹ ਸੱਚ ਅਵਤਾਰ
That the whole world came to know that the true avatar, the true form of Lord in this age who sits upon the 9th throne of Guru Nanak Dev ji is Guru Tegh Bahadur ji.
ਸ਼ਰਨੀ ਆਵੇ ਜੋ ਉਸੈ ਸੋ ਉਤਰੈ ਪਾਰ
That whoever comes to the sharan, whoever comes to the sanctuary of Guru Tegh Bahadur ji will be liberated from their sins and pains in the way that we are today liberated in the way we come to Guru Granth Sahib ji.
ਚੌਪਈ ਤੌਲੋ ਤੁਰਕਨ ਪਾਇਓ ਜ਼ੋਰ
The Turks at the time, though, they were concerned with committing a great atrocity and a great violence and injustice upon the people.
ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਕਰੇ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਨਟੋਰ
That we will convert all these Hindus to Musalman was the proclamation made from the Royal Darbar of Delhi.
ਤਉ ਹਿੰਦੂਨ ਕੋ ਚਿੰਤਾ ਭਰੀ
The Hindus of the land became chintat, they became concerned, they became worried, and they had a great anxiety for what would become of them as Guru Tegh Bahadur ji's counterpart, as the emperor, the Badshah Aurangzeb, now began spreading Islam with force.
ਮਸਲਤ ਇਹੋ ਤਬ ਹਿੰਦੂਨ ਕਰੀ
The Hindus then came together in the dialogue, like as anyone would when a great tragedy or a great difficulty befalls on them. They all came together in order to reach some sort of settlement and decision.
ਗੱਲ ਲਗਾਈਏ ਬ੍ਰਾਹਮਣ ਸੀਸ
And they said, you know what, forget this, let's blame the Brahmins, let's put the Brahmins in the firing line, that within our faith the Brahmin are the priest, the Brahmin are the supreme holders, and as many of who were low caste are seen as lesser human beings, said that let's place it all upon the Brahmins, as they are the true safeguarders of the Hindu faith.
ਜੋ ਉਨਕੀ ਕਛ ਮੰਨੈ ਜਗਦੀਸ਼
The whole world, all of our country listens only to what the Brahmins have to say, so really this is a matter between them and Aurangzeb and nothing to do with us.
ਹਿੰਦੂ ਗਰੀਬਨ ਨੇ ਹੱਥ ਜੋੜੈ
In this way, many of the Hindus, the Garibs, they went before the Emperor Aurangzeb and said, listen, we are your subjects, we have no qualm with you or no qualm with one faith or the other, but our traditions and our customs place us at the mercy of the Brahmins, and so it is the Brahmins that you must dialogue with of this matter.
ਨੌ ਰੰਗੈ ਅਗੈ ਖੜੈ ਪੈ ਸੋੜੈ
That before Aurangzeb they made this plea.
ਹਮ ਹੈ ਬ੍ਰਾਹਮਣੋਂ ਕੇ ਅਧੀਨ
We are Adin, we are at the mercy of the Brahmins. Our faith and our traditions means that they are at the top of our hierarchy, and whatever they say with regards to matters of faith, we must follow.
उनको लियावो पहले दीन.
And so they say to Aurangzeb, first convert all of the Brahmins to Hindustan, and then the rest of us have no problems in converting.
हम भी वो वह तिस ही दीन.
But we too will follow that faith that the Brahmins will adopt.
गरीब हिंदू यो छल कीन.
And in this way, the poor Hindus, in this way, the ordinary civilians place the Brahmins in the firing line. And Bhai Rattan Singh Ji gives us of this example of the chal of this intelligence and their deception here. That it is often said that when people have followers, when people have worshippers, that when bad times come, it will be those followers and worshippers who place them in the firing line. And this is what happened with the Brahmins for centuries, of having taken people's money for prayer, worship, and taking their food and donation. That when those people are now in a great difficulty, they call upon the Brahmins and place the Brahmins before the emperor as their shield.
आपन लीनी गल छुड़ाए.
After gallo unhone gal lai, matlab they removed this matter for themselves, saying it is not our concern, it's the Brahmins' concern, and the emperor should take it up directly with them.
ब्राह्मण गल पाई देई बुलाए.
And so Aurangzeb now calls the Brahmins.
तब उन लीनो ब्राह्मण बुलाए.
Calling the Brahmins from all over Hindustan, Aurangzeb assembled them to give them the proclamation.
मुसलमान हो कहो सुनाए.
The proclamation by Aurangzeb was that all the Brahmins must convert to Islam.
जो चाहो लहो मोहे ते आए.
Aurangzeb says, whatever it is that you wish for, you can ask of me. So when many people from the territories took to the Islamic faith at the time, which was the faith that those who were invading the continent gave, it was either from fear, it was either from great injustice, or it was for some lalaj, or it was for some greed that people gave up their faith in order to survive. And in this way, Aurangzeb now entices the Brahmins by saying, you can take from me whatever you wish, but you must convert to Islam.
बिरत तुर्कन गैल दयो लगाए.
And in this way, that many of the Brahmins had already begun adopting the customs of the Turks. Many of the Brahmins had already taken to thinking like the Turks. And the Turks were the rulers at the time, and as such, the Brahmin faith was already oppressed in many ways, that they had already succumbed in their thinking to the domination of the Islamic thought. And this was a further tragedy now placed upon them.
नहीं मुल्क तज जाओ पार.
Because Aurangzeb said, either convert to Islam and take from me what you wish for, or you must leave this country.
मुल्क रहो मोहे मैं दयो मारा.
If you stay within this country, then I will kill you, Aurangzeb says to the Brahmins.
दोहरा सब सुन पाए सो श्याम रंग जानमर गयो प्रवार.
Bhai Rattan Singh Ji says that hearing this, the Brahmins were all afraid. The Brahmins lost all life from within their faces turned dark, and it was hearing such a shock for them as if they had lost a very close family member, because it is the akin to us in this day of age being told, you must leave your land, you must leave your country, or you must give up all of your traditions. It is facing death one way or the other. Where else can we go? Because the Muslims exist in all 22 regions of Hindustan. Neither is there any place for us to go where we could potentially save our lives. For the Brahmins now, there's a great difficulty that they have found themselves within. Neither day nor night they're able to think, they're able to relax, they're able to come up with any solution for how their matter could be resolved. That some of the Brahmins then came together and thought about the way forward for all of them. That how will we pass our days? That this is the matter that the Brahmins are concerned with. And they say to Aurangzeb, give us some days to consider this. Essentially, they do a ploy of trying to buy some time with the emperor to allow them to ponder upon their options. And what the Brahmins did is they went to Kashmir. In Kashmir, there are a number of very holy sites related to the ancient traditions of Hinduism. One of them is Amarnath Mandir in Kailash, which is a famous mandir of Shivji. So many of the Brahmins resided in Kashmir already. Many of the prominent mandirs were in Kashmir at the time, and the Brahmins of Kashmir were seen as, in a way, the purest and the wisest Brahmins. And in this way, the Brahmins all went to the mandirs there to start doing jap tap, to start doing penance, to start doing meditation, to start doing chanting as a means of generating some spiritual energy that would give them some direction. But none of the Devtas awoke out of the 100 million Devta that the Hindus worship. None of these Devtas came forward at that time to say we will protect the Hindu faith. And And while the Brahmins then are doing their penance and their meditation as a way to try and accumulate some spiritual power, as a means of trying to awaken Shivji, as a means of trying to awaken Pero, as a means of trying to awaken Mahavir, Vishnu or Ram Avtarji, to say, come and save us, while they are trying desperately to get the blessings of their gods, on the other hand, people go to the emperor and tell him of this.
Karat hai Brahman jadu upai.
That the Brahmins are actually doing black magic. The Brahmins have used a deception where they have asked you for some time and they have gone and doing some jadoo. And remember, jadoo magic is seen as very evil within the Islamic faith. And in this way, Aurangzeb was greatly angered by what he had heard.
Dohra yah sun Shahe Norang tab payo ati sakop.
Bhai Rattan Singh Ji says that Aurangzeb was furious. The emperor now thinks that these Brahmins have deceived me, are now taking out all of their energy to perform some magic against me.
Kashmir mein Hindua ka jo karyo taram unlop.
And Bhai Rattan Singh Ji says Aurangzeb then destined himself to, I will first finish off the Brahmin faith within Kashmir.
Chopai ahdiye dadaye wal Kashmir.
So Edi were like officials within the army or government at that time, and wherever they would be taken across Hindustan, they would be carried on manje, they would be carried on essentially wooden thrones, essentially. Whatever village they would go into, they would receive support. Whatever government or military base they would go to, they would be given soldiers. And they were dispatched from Delhi to Kashmir then with the task of finishing off the Brahmins in Kashmir.
Hukum sune tin kari na tir.
Whoever heard the orders from these people would have to obey them and provide them with troops, provide them with shelter and provide them with food. And these people came with the sole mission of eradicating the Brahmins and Hinduism from Kashmir. And very quickly they were very effective at getting about what they were tasked to do by Aurangzeb. They began converting all of the Hindus in the land towards Islam. The only those Hindus survived who were able to go into hiding at that time. So it is said that Aurangzeb every day Sava Sava Marnande Janeo Lohandasi, which translates effectively as that each day the government officials were tasked with removing around 50 kilos worth of Hindu threads, and only then were they able to rest for the day. Only then were they able to enjoy their meals and go to sleep after they had committed this amount of atrocity upon the Hindus on a daily basis. And other than those who went into hiding at that time, everyone else became Muslim. That hearing this tragic news all over the world, people began to feel for the plight of the Brahmins. And the Brahmins themselves came towards the Guru at this time. So of all these prominent Hindu sites that Bhai Rattan Singh Ji gives us, including Kanchi, which is including Kurukshetra, including those who resided by the Ganga, all of these wise Hindu priests come to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji because within the Hindu tradition, the lineage of the Satgurus was recognized as supreme. In the Pavitra Puran, for example, the coming of Guru Nanak Dev Ji as the Lord of this age and the bringer of truth into this age is mentioned. At the time of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, we have already covered the tales of the Pandit who finds in his Vidya that Guru Nanak Dev Ji is in fact the coming of Lord, and then all the way through to the times of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, where Pandit the Shivdat sees Guru Gobind Rai manifest as the form of Ram Avatar. There are those wise and those enlightened beings within the Hindu faith who recognize the divinity of the Guru, and in this way many of these wise Brahmins come to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. All coming together, they place their prayers at the feet of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. Each of the Brahmins come and they give their plea, they give their prayer before Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. The Maharaj, you are the great merciful Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. You are Kshatri, you are a warrior, we are Brahmins. It is your duty, it is your responsibility as a Kshatri, as the one who has come from the warrior clan to protect us, the Brahmins, the priests. That you are the protector of the Gau. The Gau is symbolic of the Hindu faith, and the Gau is symbolic of righteousness and dharam. And they say to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji that you are charged with the protection of these in this day and age. That our times have now turned very bad. We are facing a great adversity within our time, and we come to you with great humility and hope that you will save us.
अब हम को तुम लेहो उबारी.
That Maharaj, please protect us. Maharaj, please save us, because no one else is able to do this at these times.
तुम नानक सतगुर कल धारी.
You're the all-powerful Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Each of the gurus was another form of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. In the way that Guru Nanak Dev Ji said to Bhai Lena Ji that you are Guru Angad, you are my limb. And we hear of the Jot passing in the way that Guru Granth Sahib Ji today is also the Jot of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. In this way, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji was the Puran Avatar of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, was the Puran Avatar of that light which came into this world as the Satguru, which was in fact the form of Nirankar.
Rakho Hinduan Hind Majari.
And the Hindus say, the Brahmins say, hey Guru Sahib, Lord of the Sage, save us. You're the guardian of our faith and you alone can save us.
Hindu nirbij hai karne.
The Hindus have been told that their seed, the Hindus have been told that their entire dynasties will be finished and their seeds will not even be allowed to survive, meaning that a great atrocity, a genocide, a killing, if conversion of them will be such that they will never again allowed to be sprout in this land. And this way Aurangzeb has written his proclamations and detailed them and given these instructions to officials from all over the country. The first thing, I will convert all of the Brahmins to Islam and then the rest of Hindustan. And all Hindus will then convert only afterwards from when the Brahmins are first converted. Because the Brahmins are the heads, the Brahmins are supreme, the Agavans of the Hindus. Once they convert, the rest of the Jahan, the rest of the world, the rest of the land will convert too. This is the advice, this is the counsel that Aurangzeb the Emperor has given to all of his officials. And Maharaj, because of this, crying, desperate, in need, we have come to your sanctuary for help. Maharaj, you're the Satguru, you're a great warrior, you're the perfect being of this age. The Hindus are drowning, Guru Sahib Ji. You are the form of perfection and enact that great deed of this age by reaching out and saving us from drowning. Maharaj, why don't we do this? In the way that the Hindus said to us that we are their Agavan and they will convert only once we convert. We will say to Aurangzeb that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is our leader, and if you convert Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, only then will we convert. And Maharaj, we will tell the Emperor, if you convert to Islam, then all of us will convert to Islam. Or Maharaj, why don't you do this? You're a Kshatri, you're a great warrior. You had the name Tegh Bahadur given to you by your father, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, for the way that you fought courageously in the battle of Kartarpur. None were able to face the might of your sword, and no warrior was able to defeat you. Maharaj, why do you not raise up the sword against the Mughals? And Maharaj, all of the Hindus will surely follow then if you raise the sword against the Mughals. And Maharaj, you do not have any shortage of Maya. Tum bin sare na ek chin karaj hot na siddha, jinko tum kripa kari tanke grih nav nidha. Tegh Bahadur simriya karan on de ave thai. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is the giver of all treasure. And in this way the Pandits say to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji that Maya is within your sanctuary. You have no shortage of wealth or power that would be required to mount such a campaign against the Mughals. And Maharaj, you have infinite powers, you have infinite magical powers bestowed on you as the holder of the throne of Guru Nanak Dev Ji in this day and age. And Maharaj, in these times the Hindus still account for 10 times more than the Mughals. The numbers are still in our advantage, that if the Hindus were to all come together to overthrow the Mughals, we already account for 10 times more Mughals in this land. Then Maharaj, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, you are the mighty warrior, you are the son of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, you are the holder of Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Gaddi in this day and age. If you raise up the sword, all of Hindustan will join you in the fight against the Mughals. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji had given this blessing to Babur. So now Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji listens to what the Brahmins have to say and gives their example to the Brahmins. They say that Guru Nanak Dev Ji gave Babur the Raj of Hindustan. And when Babur took this blessing from Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Guru Nanak Dev Ji said to Babur that if you commit any atrocity upon the people, then I will take this Raj back from you. And Babur says to Guru Nanak Dev Ji that when someone gives something, it is never befitting of them to ask for it back. However, Guru Nanak Dev Ji said that yes, but I must see that your future generations are not unjust. I must see that your future generations do not take the sword to the people of this land and kill innocent people. Because if they do, then I will take back my blessings that I have given your generations. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, I will not ask for it back. I will give my head and perform such a sacrifice that will kill off the power that you have been given from my blessings. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, and so because of this button by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, it is not hukum, it is not agya, it is not right for me this time to pick up the sword against Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. But I can give up my body for the Hindus. I can give up my head for the Hindus. That time where a great sacrifice must be made, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji said that they would step forward to give that sacrifice. I am that form of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And in this way Satguru Ji was merciful. In this way Satguru Ji blessed those Brahmins and fulfilled their wish and eradicated their pain that they had come to with Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, when Maharaj said, I will give my life for you, I will give my body for you, I will give my head for you. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, if the time comes, I will not hesitate to give up my head. But the Hindus who remember in a desperate state say, Maharaj, when will that time come then that you will give up your head? That Maharaj, it is all good and well you saying that if you give up your head, that the root of the Hindus, the seed of the Brahm, it is all good and well you saying that if you give your head to save the Hindus, that the seed of the Muslim Raj will be eradicated from within Dargah, will be eradicated from the abode of the Lord. But when will these things happen, Maharaj? It is no good if these things happen at the time when we are already finished. And Bhai Rattan Singh Ji says, in the Brahman's mind, the following thoughts are running through. That when will Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji give the head, and when will this time come when the seed of the Mughals is eradicated? That the Muslims want to finish us and kill us now. This is happening now. So when will Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's prophecies come? When will Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji perform this great deed that will save us? There is no point when someone has drowned to reach out for them to save them. And if someone has already died of hunger, there is no point in making kheer, sweet rice pudding. And if someone has died of thirst, there is no point then afterwards of even bathing them in water. Because they are unable to drink that water and it is of no use to them then. So in this way the Brahmins are getting impatient and saying to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, we need your help now. Maharaj says, okay. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says the following to the Brahmins in order to get Maharaj's, in order to get their blessings across, in order to get their message across, in order to saying to the Brahmins, okay, I have heard you, now leave it with me. You do not keep needing to emphasize and stress your point. Go and tell Aurangzeb that if he converts me to Islam, that you will all convert to Islam. And so the Brahmins did not hesitate and went straight to Aurangzeb and said, we have taken the time you have given us to consider, and we have arrived at this decision, that in the way that the Hindus have said that we are their supreme leaders and they will do what we say, we are saying that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is our single supreme leader, and we will do whatever Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji does. As Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji had explained to them, so they went and narrated this to Aurangzeb in exactly the same way. First convert Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji to Islam, and then the rest of Hindustan will convert to Islam. And in this way the Brahmins went to Aurangzeb and told him tales and stories of this, that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji was saying that you won't be able to convert him. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji was saying that if you try all of your might and power, you won't be able to convert him. So you must bring Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji to your darbar, and it is not a matter that concerning us, it is a matter that is now between you and Guru Tegh Bahadur ji. And Aurangzeb accepted everything truthfully as he had been told by the Brahmins. And Aurangzeb then issued a proclamation that Guru Tegh Bahadur ji should be arrested, and sent individuals all over the country now to arrest Guru Tegh Bahadur ji. And on the other side, Guru Tegh Bahadur ji now knows what time has come before them in their life, what is required for them in their life, and they go about resolving their matters that need to be addressed, such as giving the Guru Gaddi to Guru Gobind Singh ji, the youngest son, Guru Gobind Rai, who came upon the throne of Guru Nanak Dev Ji at the age of 9. And so the Brahmins had said to Aurangzeb exactly as Guru Tegh Bahadur ji had said to them. Guru Tegh Bahadur ji themselves set off to Delhi. They did not wait to get arrested. They did not act as a bandit. They did not act as a robber. We have seen accounts coming out of so-called historians today. These accounts, these false accounts of Guru Tegh Bahadur ji, are not just a disrespect to the Sikh faith. These false accounts of Guru Tegh Bahadur ji are a disrespect to the Hindu faith, because they entirely trample upon the suffering and injustice that the Hindus had to go through. They entirely trample upon the way in which Guru Tegh Bahadur ji saw that their religion was one that had to survive at that time, and stood with them and supported them and gave their life for that. That if we allow these agendas where Guru Tegh Bahadur ji Shaheedi is minimised, diminished, or put down simply as a criminal, then we destroy not only the essence of the Sikh faith but the Hindu faith as well. So by all means, Guru Tegh Bahadur ji's history, as it is written authentically, should be known by not just every single Sikh but every single Hindu. And whenever we read something that is contrary to this and we know that there is agenda, we should ensure that these books and those who have written them are removed entirely from the curriculum of the land. The Turks then, who were looking for Guru Tegh Bahadur ji, did not have to look very hard, because Guru Tegh Bahadur ji themselves came to their home in Delhi. So Bhai Rattan Singh ji in just one line summarises a story of how Guru Tegh Bahadur ji became discovered. So it was said that there would be a reward given to whoever, a reward given on the spot to whoever would reveal Guru Tegh Bahadur ji to the authorities. Now there was a very poor man who had to have his daughter married at that time, and in his mind a thought arose that if I was to be the one that handed over Guru Tegh Bahadur ji to the authorities, then I would receive a prize and a gift, and with that I would be able to get my daughters married. So before Guru Tegh Bahadur ji departs this world, they think, why not fulfill this final wish of this Gursikh? And Bhai Rattan Singh ji tells us, as is told in other atiyas, Guru Tegh Bahadur ji meets this poor man and he gives him a coin and he gives him a dashala, he gives him a piece of cloth and says, go into the market and buy mathai for us. And when he went to buy that mathai, when he went to buy those sweet candies and produced a very precious coin and produced a very precious cloth within which to have that candy wrapped in, the man, the halwai that Bhai Rattan Singh ji mentions, went and informed the authorities that someone has come to me, I believe this man may be a thief, because he's produced both a very valuable coin and also a very valuable piece of cloth. And when they came to this man, the authorities said, where did you get this from? He said, I do not know. Some leader has come to me with his horsemen, with his armies, and he has given this to me. And if you want, I will tell you where he is stationed. So in this way, Guru Tegh Bahadur ji led the authorities to himself after he had already been in Agra, after he had already been travelling through all of these key Mughal provinces, meeting certain Gursikhs before they left this world. And the halwai then, the halwai di hatti, the shop of the halwai, this is the story via which Guru Tegh Bahadur ji gave himself up to the authorities. Here Maharaj became manifest to the authorities. So then news spread all over the world that Aurangzeb has managed to capture the great Sadhguru. The house within which the house that had issued the proclamation for the arrest of Guru Tegh Bahadur ji, Guru Tegh Bahadur ji themselves went to that house. Essentially the Mughals had issued a guidance all over the country saying wherever Guru Tegh Bahadur ji is found, he should be arrested and brought to Delhi. But Guru Tegh Bahadur ji themselves travelled to that place. And in this way Aurangzeb came to gain captivity then over Guru Tegh Bahadur ji from Maharaj's own doing.
ਏਮ ਕਰ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਆਪ ਬੰਧਾਈ
The Guru Tegh Bahadur ji themselves allowed themselves to go into this imprisonment of Aurangzeb.
ਕੈਦ ਪਾਏ ਬਹੁ ਦਵਾਈ ਉਤਰਾਸ
Then in this way, Guru Tegh Bahadur ji became imprisoned in the camp of Aurangzeb in Delhi.
ਫੇਰ ਮੁਗਲ ਇੱਕ ਭੇਜਿਓ ਪਾਸ
And Aurangzeb sent one Mughal towards Guru Tegh Bahadur ji to speak with him.
ਖੋਟਾ ਬੋਲ ਉਤਰਾਸ ਦਿਖਾਇਆ
He tried to scare Guru Tegh Bahadur ji. Khota bolya. He spoke many ill and wrong things to Guru Tegh Bahadur ji as a means of trying to put fear into Guru Sahib.
ਤੁਰਕ ਹੋਏ ਫਿਰ ਆਪ ਸੁਣਾਇਆ
And he said to Guru Tegh Bahadur ji that you must become a Muslim, otherwise we'll inflict great punishment upon you.
ਅਕੈ ਦਿਖਾਇਓ ਕਰ ਜੋ ਮਾਤ
Otherwise you must show us some great miracle and then we will spare your life.
ਜਿਮ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਖਾਵੇ ਦਿਖਾਇਓ ਸੋ ਬਾਤ
You have told the world that you are the Satguru, you proclaim yourself to be on the throne of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. If this is true, then show us something to prove it and that you are not a fraud.
ਜਿਮ ਤੁਮ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਸੱਚੇ ਸਦਾ ਬਹਿ
You are calling yourself the Sache Padishah, you are calling us the false rulers, you are calling yourself the true ruler, is the one who is the representative of God, the true sovereign on this earth. By calling yourself that great title, by assuming that great title, show us something to indicate that you in fact have the powers that come with that.
ਜਿਮ ਕਰ ਹਮਕੋ ਝੂਠ ਠਹਿਰਾਵੇ
And they say to Guru Tegh Bahadur ji that everything that you are saying about yourself, that you are the Sache Padishah, that Lord is the true sovereign, that the way of Sikhi that sees Hindu and Muslim as one is the truth of this age. Everything that you are saying about yourself, your faith and your beliefs, you are on the other hand saying that we are false. So they were very insecure. For a faith that is secure within itself, it never needs to see a threat from another faith. It's like when you have a shop or when you have merchandise. If you know the quality of your product, you're never afraid of cheap imitations of that. You're never afraid of false products ever doing you any serious long-term harm, because these things all have a shelf time. The truth doesn't. And it's never an attack on other people, and there is elements of truth to be found in all faiths. But those who saw the spread of Sikhi as a threat to their own faith, they essentially perceived Sikhi as saying that their religion and their beliefs and their worldly authority in this case was false.
Nahi ho tu Musalman.
If you do not perform any miracles, then you must convert to Islam, is what this Mughal tells Guru Tegh Bahadur ji.
ਅਕੈ ਦਿਖਾਓ ਕੁਛ ਆਪਣੋ ਤਾਨ
Show us some of your power, we want to see what you have got.
ਦਿਖਾਓ ਹਮੇ ਕੁਛ ਕਰ ਜਮਾਤ
Show us some of your powers, show us some of your miraculous wills.
ਰਾਮ ਰਾਏ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਮੰਨੋ ਬਾਤ
As Ram Rai was one of the sons of Guru Tegh Bahadur, Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, who was sent to the court of the Mughals. He was sent to the court of the Mughals to address 2 points, one of which was the Gurbani of the Gurus that had contained verses about Islam. And Ram Rai changed these verses and then he performed miracles to appease the emperor. And Guru Sahib Ji said, he is no longer my son. So in this day and age, many of us do not hesitate to criticize Gurbani. Many of us do not hesitate to say, I do not believe in Gurbani, when we haven't even done our Santhya of Japji Sahib. And then we want to question other Gurbani. This is very, very shameful. And just because Gursikhs who had a certain Jivan, just because Gursikhs might have had some Chardi Kala and they didn't believe in that Bani, that is not in any way a direction that we should follow those beliefs that might take us to hell. Because remember, Ram Rai who had changed Gurbani, Ram Rai who had performed miracles and shown himself to be at that avastha, once he was denounced by Guru Sahib Ji, still had blessings. He still was perceived with respect in the world. He still had miraculous powers because someone still carries their kamai with them. So this is something that affects people in many countries where we see the spread of Sikh groups who challenge Gurbani directly. And when we look at the authentic traditions of Sikhi that go back to the times of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, that go back to the times of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, there is absolutely no doubt that Guru Granth Sahib Ji the Gurbani Sampurn from Guru Granth Sahib Ji's opening of Ik Onkar to At Hara Das Bees is Sampurn. There is no doubt that Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Bani as contained within Sri Dasam Guru Granth Sahib Ji and Maharaj's Bani is Sarvalo Bani. There is no doubt that this is the Guru's Bani. And we must never ever move away from this. And this is the history of Ram Rai, who tells us that once we are denounced by the Guru, that then our path is one that is descending.
ਦੋਹਰਾ ਤਬ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਫਿਰ ਇਮ ਕਹਿਓ नहीं अच्छा किया राम राय।
Guru Tegh Bahadur ji says, well, I do not believe that what Ram Rai did was of any good to anyone.
आप बढ़ाए ले गए हो गाल पिछलन पाए बलाई।
That he himself proclaimed fame in this world, but everyone after him had to suffer.
चौपई जो वह दे गए हो कर समात।
By showing karamat at that time, what Ram Rai did had great consequence for others.
तो हमको तय आखी बात।
For me, this was not worthwhile, because then everyone else that has come since, the emperor demands to see some karamat as if it is a sign that the person is a representative of God on this earth. And not everyone has that power. Not everyone is interested in showing it. And not every saintly person obtains these things. It is only a certain few which makes them so special.
पीर फकीरन लाग्यो पाप।
His sin affected all of these Pir Fakir then, who the emperor demanded to see miracles from, otherwise put to the sword.
गयो करवाए वह सबको खाप।
And Ram Rai, by performing miracles to appease the emperor, has caused the suffering upon others.
करामात मद सब कब होए।
Each of these karamats that Ram Rai showed did not serve the world. What good was a karamat? What use was a miraculous power that only went on to cause suffering to others?
बिन करामात तुम छड़ो ना कोई।
And what use is that karamat if then everyone comes afterwards has to be held to that same test, has to be held to that same account? Let's take the example of saying that someone is going to be killed, and if that person is innocent, that God will save them. Now that might happen in some instances, but to use that as a measure then in other cases is simply going to result in many tragic deaths that were unnecessary. Because the thing that makes those special is the occasional manifestation of that thing in a way that is inclined with God's will. To simply show one's powers never result in a situation in the universe that results in much good when it is being done only for showing off. And Maharaj says that not everyone wants to show karamata, not everyone wants to show miraculous powers, and not everyone is bestowed with them, but that does not mean that they're any less holy. And what is the point in doing this if everyone who comes after me will also be put to that same test? And Guru Tegh Bahadur ji says that karamata, that these are the path of the cowards. That neither kings nor emperors nor saints must endure these, because it is their responsibility to uplift people and be brave and teach people to be fearless. This is the duty of the emperor, the ruler, and the saint. And if they resort to using miraculous powers and people think that this is the only way to save yourself, how does that help the ordinary man? That both the emperor and the saint have a responsibility to remove cowardice from the population. And how could they then take the path of cowardice if it is their responsibility to remove this from within other people? Guru Tegh Bahadur ji says, the miraculous powers is another name for cowardice, and so I refuse to show you. And you may do what you want upon me, but you will have to account for that before God. And Aurangzeb became greatly infuriated. He says to Guru Tegh Bahadur ji that you're just trying to defeat me in dialogue. Either you now convert to Islam, otherwise it is time that you must accept death. That if we want, we can kill you by skinning you, we can kill you by skinning a cow. We will place your skin in the sun, we will place you skinless in the sun to suffer, and we will place the cow skin over you so that your faith is diminished in this way. Because remember, for people of Hindustan, not just Hindus but Sikhs as well, the cow was an animal that was never killed, because the cow was an animal that people kept at home for milk. The cow was an animal that people used for their farming. The buffalo was used for farming. The calves born in the house would be used for milk. It is not a culture where we eat beef. And in this way, the cow also, even in Gurbani Kamatain Har Har Gun Gaun, there are many examples where it is seen to be associated with piety, with righteousness, with justice, with purity, and with religion. So in this way, the cultural significance that in the imagery associated with it is why it is people from native of that land never consume it for flesh. There is a hypocrisy on this side. if we look at the extent to which beef is imported from that land on this day, there is a hypocrisy to that side when we look at the way that cows roam freely around the land when they stop giving milk, only to be knocked over at the roads, knocked over as the cause of road accidents. And in this way, if they are truly holy, they should be cared for in a way that is significance of that. We see even many Gursikh Mahapurushs, particularly in the Nirmala Sampradaya. We see even Baba Palla Singh Ji in the Nahang Singh Sampradaya, where Mahapurushs have devoted themselves to looking after these animals that have been discarded. And because they hold that status, and Aurangzeb threatens Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji by, I will do this great dishonour on you in the way in which I will kill you. We will leave you burning in the sun skinless. And as your skin dries out in the sun, so your skinless body will receive great suffering at the same time. That you call yourself the Guru, you're nothing but a fraud. And now you refuse to convert to our faith of Islam. That you think that us Muslims are not as good as you Hindus. You run away from us, you think that we are inferior. And Guru Sahib Ji in their mind listens to the way in which Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is now narrating and getting angry with themselves. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, my time has come. Aurangzeb did ask one question of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, where he said to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji that, tell me one thing, that you may die or I may kill you, but my wish is that all of Hindustan become Muslim. And in a way that a devotee, they say, might also ask a saint, that Aurangzeb was also a very spiritual person. We know this from his diaries, we know this from the writings of the time, and even Sikh writings of the time, of the meditations and penances that he would perform, of some of the powers and siddhiyas that he himself had. And he says to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, will Allah fulfill this wish? And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, look, you're not a reasonable person. You're not going to understand by any words that I might have to explain to you. I'm not interested in showing you any miracles, but I will let life show you an example. So Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says to Aurangzeb, get all the black pepper you can in the city, burn it, grind it, put it through a sieve, and once you're satisfied that there is no black peppers left, bring the cloth to me that you have used as a sieve. And he says, okay. And he brings this and he tells Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji that they have been burnt, they have been ground fine, they have been sieved multiple times. And as they get then all the powder that the black pepper has come, 3 whole black peppers emerge from that time. And Aurangzeb asks Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, what is this significant of? And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says to Aurangzeb, this is your answer from Allah. That your question was, I want to make all of Hindustan Muslim. I want to eradicate Hinduism. I do not want 2 faiths in this land. I want only one. Allah has said there will be 3. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji refers to this in their Bani Ogardanti, where they say, Karo Khalsa Panth Tisar Pravesa, Jagay Singh Jodhe, Tyranny of Aurangzeb. There is no argument or discussion to whether the Khalsa Panth is part of any other faith. Maharaj says it is the third way. It is the distinct way, in their own words. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji departs, giving Aurangzeb this teaching that after me now, that our religion will be consolidated into a form where it becomes the third way of this land. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, the time that I was looking out for, the time that I wanted where I can have a heroic death that brings some peace towards this world, that glorious time has come for me. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says that time I have been looking for has now come to me itself. And Guru Sahib Ji reflects on their verses, and some of Slok Mahalla Nama was actually written while Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji were in captivity. And these verses, Chinta Taki Kijiye Jo Anhoni Hue, they can help all of us in our life today about everything. What is the point about worrying? Whatever will be, will be. That by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the way of this world is that none survive here, none live here. Everything is just temporary and it shall pass. And
तब सतगुरु जी जानियो समा पहुँचियो आए
And Guru Tegh Bahadur ji recognized now that that time has come.
सो अब ढीर न चाहिए एह सिर सीस लगाए
Guru Tegh Bahadur ji had no hesitation in embracing that moment that they had to give up their faith, and they had to give up their religion but not their faith.
चौपई तब सतगुरु ने ऐस उचारा
And Guru Tegh Bahadur ji spoke these words now.
हमरा इष्ट देखो तुम पारा
Listen, my Isht, my teacher is God, my deity is God. I am a man of Allah, and now that time has come. But I am telling you that you will have to give a heavy account for this.
करामात हम ऐसे दिखाही
That you want to see a karamat. I am not interested in showing you a karamat that will save my life. But yes, you will see one before I leave this world.
हमरा सिर तू पावे नाही
You will not be able to cut my head. You will not be able to remove my head as you want to have me beheaded.
हमरे सिर को तेग लगाया
That you may try placing your sword upon that neck, but your sword will not be able to cut through my neck.
कटे ना सो करामात दिखाया
That you will see your sword being unable to cut my head. So essentially what some historic accounts say, that the sword, the executioner's sword, struck Guru Tegh Bahadur ji, but was able to cut Guru Tegh Bahadur ji, but Guru Tegh Bahadur ji essentially offered their head as an offering to that. But before going so, gave that subut, gave that miraculous act, not to save their life, but to inspire others that yes, this is the Lord of the day who has given their life, who has demonstrated that in the way in which that they have gone, and the people can become hopeful of better times coming for them due to the sacrifice of Guru Tegh Bahadur ji.
तलवार तिखी को ले आयो बेस
But Guru Tegh Bahadur ji says to Aurangzeb, you must be sure that you satisfy yourself of this and make sure that your talwar that you bring is very sharp.
चलत पैस जो कटत हमेश
That you think it will definitely cut through my skin. So it said when the executioner brought the big sword to cut the head of Guru Tegh Bahadur ji, the Guru Tegh Bahadur ji, who were known as Tyagumal, who was known as the image of renunciation, and a nature that was very sincere, a nature that was very serious, and a nature that was very introverted, that upon seeing the executioner's sword, Guru Tegh Bahadur ji smiled.
दोहरा ऐसे ऐसे बचन कह गुर बैठे चौकी नाए
And having this dialogue with the Emperor, Guru Tegh Bahadur ji now sits at the site of Seesganj Gurdwara in Delhi. Having had a shnan at the Boli there, they then sit under the Bordi Drakht there. So in each of the Gurdwara of the Gurus that we go to, we will know many of these Gurdwara, Tali Sahib, Kikkar Sahib, and many other historic asthans of the Guru all around India. We will find their trees preserved from that time associated with the Gurus, either where the Gurus took shade from, either where the Gurus took datan from to brush their teeth, or either where the Gurus sat under and meditated, such as Seesganj like Guru Tegh Bahadur ji. Now, there is a great wisdom that the Gursikhs of previous centuries have given us, that they have preserved those trees and that we have those trees today. So our responsibility as the inheritors of that isn't just to ensure that we look after those trees in the way that Guru Sahib Ji did, in the way that the Gursikhs from Guru Sahib Ji did, is that nishani of the Gurus. But all of these drakts that we know were native to the land, all of the drakts that we know provided different nutrients and qualities, medicinal values and increased oxygen within the land. We should know the native species of trees in Punjab, and we should ensure that we make efforts to plant some of these as well.
तेग लवाई सीस निज ऐसे छल के दाए
And Guru Tegh Bahadur ji then gave their head without the executioner's sword being able to penetrate their skin.
चौपई सीस दयो पर सिर न दियो
Guru Tegh Bahadur ji gave their head, but they did not give up their faith. They did not give up their values. They had told Aurangzeb that you won't even be able to get my head. They had told Aurangzeb that you won't be able to find my body, let alone dishonour it in this way. And we know the Sakhi then of the Gursikhs, and took Guru Sahib Ji's body and cremated it within their own house, and then took Guru Sahib Ji's cease, took Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's head to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And this was a Gursikh from a so-called low caste who then obtained the blessings from Guru Sahib Ji when they said, Arangrete Guru ke bete, that you have performed this great act, that you have brought great honour to all of the people within your caste, and from this day the people from your caste, who is known as outcasts within society, I will know them as my dearest and most loved sons.
ਆਪਣੋ ਧਰਮ ਕਰਮ ਰੱਖ ਲਿਓ
Perfectly, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji preserved their dharma and their karam, their action, their duty, their piety, their faith. Neither did they give up on those things. Neither did they allow for the emperor to go away thinking that what he had done was good. He realized when Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's head was not cut that that was a miracle and a sign of God, and then he was unable to access Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's body to leave it out in the sun or place it within the cow's leather as he'd wanted to do so.
ਚਰਮ ਕਚੈ ਤੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਬਚਾਇਓ
The Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's body was saved from any type of great disrespect being performed in this way.
ਤੁਰਕਨ ਕੈ ਸਿਰ ਸੀਸ ਲਗਾਇਓ
And they gave their head to the Turks. Now remember, ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਚਾਲ ਵੀ ਸੀ, ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਭਾਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ. And this is things that whatever happens in the world, we forget sometimes that ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਹੱਥ ਆ. There is nothing that is not happening that goes out with the control of Guru Sahib. And this is the belief that Sampuran Gursikhs have. Sampuran Gursikhs being that those who say that Guru Granth Sahib Ji is here and that nothing is happening out with of their hukum. And okay, see, hukum hai si bhi Guru Sahib Ji knew that they had to give their head. A sacrifice had to be made, and only through that sacrifice could the palta happen. Only through that sacrifice could Aurangzeb's rule begin going from ascendance towards descendance. Aurangzeb was a fool. He did not realize that it was Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji calling the shots. He did not realize that, hold on a minute, this was Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's advice he gave the Brahmins. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji then came here to give their head. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is then the one telling me to sharpen the sword, that this is all Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is doing. That he just thought that, yes, I am the one who has taken the head of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. And in this way, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji performed the great Sakka, performed this great miracle of what he had done in this age of Kal Yuga. Now the word Parswarth is very, very important here. On many occasions we find in Panth Parkash Bhai Rattan Singh Ji referring to the Sikhs as Hindus. And we've already given a context to this of how the word is used simultaneously, how the historical meanings of the word differ through centuries, and how it was at times used to refer to people of continent rather than of one religion. Here Bhai Rattan Singh Ji says Parswarth. Parswarth means other. He is saying that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji gave a sacrifice for the faith of others. So in this way, this is a misconception that we have tried to clear numerous times through the Katha, so that it is never falsely propagated or misunderstood by those who may think that that there is some ulterior or sinister motive to this. Bhai Rattan Singh Ji is very clear here that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji gives their life for a faith other than their own.
Praman Bachitra Natak Dohara Thikar Thor Dilis Sir Prabhpur Kiya Prayan.
And now Bhai Rattan Singh Ji gives us the verses from Bachitra Natak. Bachitra Natak is the autobiography of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, known as the wondrous play. And in these verses, which Pradhan Gursikhs read every day in the Rera Sahib, Guru Sahib Ji gives the example that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji has given their head, but in fact they have smashed the head of Aurangzeb, and they have themselves ascended to heaven, uprooting the evil rule of Aurangzeb.
Tegh Bahadur si kriya kari na kinhu aan.
This great deed committed by Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, none had ever been able to do something like this before, and none will ever do something like this. Look in the history of religion. There is never an example of the leader of one religious faith giving their life for people of another faith. Someone might give their life for their followers, but one never gives themselves for the followers of another traditions. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji did this.
Tegh Bahadur ke chalat payo jagat ko sok.
And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's sacrifice brought about some peace. It brought about some thand. It brought about some coolness. It left Aurangzeb to reconsider. And this maromar of Hindus that was going on, this genocide of Hindus and the destruction of their faith and religion, paused for some time after Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's sacrifice.
Sab jag payo jai 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 surlok.
And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says that as Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, as Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji ascended to heaven, Parlok de vich jai jaikar ho rahi hai. There's great celebrations are being done of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji in the way that those who have left this earth having meditated on Naam, or those who have left this earth having given Shaheedi for Dharam, in the way that they are celebrated in Dargah, Bhai Rattan Singh ji refers us to the verse of Guru Gobind Singh ji, who says that they were celebrated in Dargah, but in Sansar, hai majgi. People are shocked, people are devastated at this loss that has happened. And we find this, as an example or a theme that runs through even in the present day, when people leave this world in a way where they leave a great emptiness in the world, but actually they're celebrated in the next world from having died this great heroic death.
Dohara as charit satguru kiyo tau payo turk pashiman.
Guru Tegh Bahadur ji committed this deed to eradicate the rule of the Mughals, and they would come to regret this.
Naurango tab churiyo hum sake na chitra pachan.
Aurangzeb did not recognize the charitra. So, when we use the word charitra, it just refers to intelligence or trick. Sometimes people refer to the Bani of Charitra Upakyan and try to turn it into a Bani that it is negative towards women. Charitra is neither towards women or a man, or really to be seen in a negative light. Because here it says that what Guru Sahib Ji did with Aurangzeb was a charitra, it was a play, it was an act. And it was the act of having Aurangzeb commit this atrocity and tyranny so that Aurangzeb's rule could be taken from him. And Aurangzeb then in his heart starts to get afraid. He thinks Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji was right. I wasn't able to cut his head. We weren't able to get his body. And he's now fearful for what might happen. So we referred previously in the Katha to the verses of Karni Nama. And one of the lines in Karni Nama talks about this when it says, Agya paida kyon kiyo palana kiyo Gobind. Where Aurangzeb says to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and there's a dialogue reflecting those times, that why have you created the Khalsa Panth in the middle of my rule? And this was because of the tyranny that Aurangzeb had done. That Aurangzeb had a reign to rule this earth for whatever kamai, whatever blessings he had, and he was untouchable during that time. But when he commits the great sin of killing the Lord Manifest of that age, at that time, then it gives the Gurus the right to say that, well, actually, you are simply now sowing the fruit of the seeds, the destructive seeds that you lay. And in this way, Maharaj tells us that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji was able to win one over on Aurangzeb, essentially. And here is the important thing. Here is why this prasang of Itihas is so important, not just for Sikhs, but for Hindus as well. It is at this point that Aurangzeb starts committing the great atrocities against the Hindus. When we look into that period of history and look at, hold on, what was the trigger for Hinduism essentially being eradicated from Kashmir? And that is an important issue even in today. What is the point at which Hinduism is nearly eradicated from Kashmir, and what is the trigger that then stops that from happening, and what is it that gives us the population there that we have today? It was this. It was the mass conversion, it was the mass killing of Brahmins from Kashmir. And what stopped that? The sacrifice of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. This is why this history is so important to 1.3 billion people. This is why this history, when we allow it to be manipulated and misused, everyone forgets who they are and how they got here. Guru Sahib Ji's dain that they gave in Kaljog, their sikhya that they gave their Gursikhs, is that even if someone who is other to you, even if their descendants will go on to challenge you in the way that many of the Hindu sons of the rulers at the time, who were followers of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, went on to bear enmity and fight with Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, even when all of those things are true, the highest dharam and the highest karam is the service of others, and seeing no one as the other, and knowing that when the time comes to do the right thing, however hard that is, however bitter that is, they step up to do that courageously. This is the Sikhya that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji gave us that carry Sikhi forward even today. Tiri tiri hua gayi sari. Aurangzeb's kamai, Aurangzeb's right to rule, Aurangzeb's place in heaven that he thought was guaranteed, all of these things now start to diminish. That he no longer has a space in heaven. And it is said many of the, and now Bhai Rattan Singh Ji gives us this example. We will always seek to give an authentic account of this example, because this account of history is authentic. And we've already in previous gathas touched on how we can in this day and age understand some of the teachings that Bhai Rattan Singh Ji gives us in a way that doesn't promote hatred, in a way that gets the context of the sectarianism at the side and the history at the time, and look at why things are being said. This is why we will always give an authentic account of Panth Parkash. And here Bhai Rattan Singh Ji is saying that even the saints and the peers and the fakirs who were the spiritual overlords of Aurangzeb, even these people now find themselves kicked out of heaven.
Dohra pari pukar darbar sach malik kiyo vichar.
The Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji had gone into the abode of the Lord. The Guru Parameshwar had become one with the Nirankar. The form had become one with the formless. And at this point, as everyone in heaven is celebrating, this matter didn't just impact this world, it impacted the heaven. Now, when we talk about the way of the Khalsa being universal, what we mean is that it's not just applicable to all people, that even if we went into different planets, even we went into different realms, even if we went into different universes, this would still be the truth. Why is it so? Because there's a way that is meant to be intact with living with the nature of your environment. It is a way that is meant to be intact with serving other people. It is a way that is meant to be intact with being able to feed other people, being able to protect other people, being able to rule over other people when you need be. There is not a universe or world ever imagined where those things are not essential. And in this way, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's sacrifice that they did on this world impacted some of those other worlds as well, some of which are being referred here to as heavenly worlds.
Peer Paigambar Turk ke darbaro da inkar.
The spiritual overlords of Aurangzeb, because remember, many holy men had supported Aurangzeb, and they too were men of God, but they were men of God who also harboured this great egotistical evil intent of making everyone else in the world like them. As a Gursikh, this isn't our job. Our job of the world isn't to make everyone look like us. अपना जिहड़ा धर्म आ, अपना जिहड़ा कर्म आ, ਇਹ बहुत ਉੱਚਾ ਆ. ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਰਹਿਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ, ਕਹਿਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਕਮਾਈ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਦਇਆ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ. We cannot give this out willy-nilly. For Nihang Singhs, there was a time when Amrit would be given to someone after 10 or 11 years. A Bana would be given to someone after 2 or 3 years. Up until that point, they would maybe have to be naked. So in a way, there is not a great interest in giving these things out freely to the world or expecting them to appreciate or value or any of these things. But yet it is our duty to give everyone the Upadesh of Naam. It is our duty to protect and feed everyone. ਇਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਧਰਮ ਕਰ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਆ.
ਚੌਪਈ ਸੱਚਖੰਡ ਤੇ ਤਬੈ ਨਕਾਰੇ.
ਸੱਚਖੰਡ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਹੁਣ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਧੱਕਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਵੀ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਅਵਤਾਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਧੱਕਾ ਕੀਤਾ, ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਚੇਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਆਹ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਰਗਾਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਮਾਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਣਾ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਰਗਾਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਸਤਿਕਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਣਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਦਰਗਾਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ.
ਡੇਰਾ ਦੀਨੋਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਦਰਬਾਰੇ. ਤੁਹਾਡਾ
ਡੇਰਾ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ, ਦਰਗਾਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਡੇਰਾ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ. ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ ਹੁਣ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਬਿਰਾਜਮਾਨ ਨੇ ਸੱਚਖੰਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਹਿਓਗੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦਰਗਾਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਸਹਿਓਗੇ.
ਤਬ ਤੈ ਘਟੀ ਪਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਦਿੱਲੀ.
And from this time now, Bhai Rattan Singh Ji says, the Padshaahi of Delhi begins to descend. The Mughal Empire never recovers really from this point. What happened after this point is some of the other strong Hindu empires. Aurangzeb would send, for example, those in the north to the south to fight with them. Strong regional groups like the Marathas or the Bengalis, the Rajputs, would be played off of each other. And then the Pahari Raje, those kings, the descendants of the Himalayas, who had given their lands and Maharaj had bought them to build Anandpur Sahib, those kings who would come to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, their sons then went on to fight with Guru Gobind Singh Ji and then claim help from Aurangzeb in that battle out of nothing but jealousy. So the times of Hindustan all change from this point, where Aurangzeb becomes less concerned now about converting everyone by faith, but actually recognizing that he has serious regional threats in each of these territories, and it's better for him to play others off each other rather than allowing him to collectively come together. So if they were all people of one faith, if they were all warriors that were Hindus, it always begs the question of why did they not come together collectively to fight Aurangzeb? And it was because there were never one people in the way that we see them like today. Rajputs, Maharashtrians, Bengalis, Punjabis, Tamils, each of these people were concerned with their own empires, and because they had their own empires, it meant they had their own cultures, it meant they had their own language, it meant they had their own religious practices, and it's why these regionals will never give up easily on what they have, regardless of whatever kind of bigger picture might be placed before them. And the power of the Turks from that time, Bhai Rattan Singh says, "Tilli pegi," their might was weakened.
And
here Bhai Rattan Singh Ji completes the saga of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's ascendance to heaven. And this is one of the holiest historical prasang in Sikhi. So we have Gurbani as our Puran Satguru, and then we have Itihas, where we have key episodes from our history. And this is one of those key episodes that has been covered in today's chapter. If we have said anything to offend anyone, to upset anyone, we humbly seek your forgiveness. Guru Sahib Ji's blessings and the Sangat's blessings for the continuation of this Katha and the Seva of the Panth. Guru Sahib Ji daya kare, kirpa kare. Reading the last 2 lines of the Katha now, we will do Samafti, finish the episode for today.
तब तक कटी पतशाही दिल्ली, तब ते तुर्क कला भई ढिल्ली। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह।
जयकारे गजावे निहाल हो जावे, गुरु तेग बहादुर जी नू भावे।
सत श्री अकाल।
वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह।